Hey guys, this is Something Extra RC. I'm starting a new YouTube channel here, and a lot of it's going to be Realflight, a few RC reviews of planes, but to be honest, my budget isn't that high with RC airplanes, so I mean, those might be few and far between, but if it picks up, there'll definitely be more of them. Anyways, so my first video, I thought it'd be fit to tell you a little bit about me and how I started flying, and if you were going to get into the hobby, what you should do. So I'm going to go ahead and take off just because it's be kind of boring to just listen to me blab and there'd be nothing going on. So I thought I'd do some first-person view flying with the Reaper here. So basically, how I got started flying is way back when, and I've crashed already, about 2 or 3 years ago, I got a little Hobby Zone Super Cub LP for Christmas, and I recommend that plane to anyone getting into the hobby. It's a really easy plane to fly, and it's big enough that it's not too twitchy. So I got that plane, and I struggled with it for about 6 months to a year. In fact, a few times for about 6 months or 3 months, I actually stopped flying. And didn't think about it, but one winter I saw it sitting on a shelf, and I said, you know, maybe I should get that put back together. That was kind of fun. And so I put it back together, and I kept pushing through, and I actually got flying. So I got proficient with that a little bit, and then I went out and I bought myself a Park Zone Focke-Wulf 190 A8. And that is a great plane. It's a little tricky to land just because of the wheel pants. But I do not own that plane anymore. But anyways, I flew that plane and there were some problems with it structurally and it crashed. So, but it didn't crash for a while. And so I flew this plane. And eventually, I put my trainer, my Super Cub LP, on floats. In fact, I live in a town with 5 lakes within the city limits, and I can look out my window and I'm literally like 10 steps from a lake, so a float plane just makes sense. So I fly floats, and to be honest, floats are a good way to learn within a point. If you can reasonably go out and get your plane and you're a good pilot, but you still got to work out the kinks, I'd recommend floats because you're going to do less damage to your plane when you crash. But floats isn't something you should start out with. But floats is definitely a new experience, and it's fun if you want to get into it. So I always started flying floats. I stopped flying floats after a little bit, and after that, I got a plane called the. I'm trying to remember how this went. I went and got the Park Zone Sport Cub when it came out. I was just hyped up about that because I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford the Carbon Cub. $400 at that time was just out of my budget. So anyways, I got the Sport Cub, and boy, the Sport Cub was a nice flying plane. I loved it. I got to the point here earlier where I could just kind of do low passes over the lakes at full throttle, and it was a lot of fun. Eventually, I had a servo glitch from a servo getting wet, flying it off floats once, and that kind of caused the end of it. I repaired it and sold it. I wasn't into it much more. But after I got rid of the Sport Cub, I got a little plane called I actually got it from a guy off RC Groups, which I am a big fan of RC Groups. I really like it, and I recommend it to anyone getting into the hobby. It's a huge help. I'm on there all the time. If you want help from me, I'm on there. Just give me a message. Something Extra is my name on there. Anyways, and so he messaged me and said he had a plane to give me, and he'd like to give it to someone starting out. And so he gave me this plane, this 40-inch Edge. It had been crashed, but it was the plane that he learned 3D on. Now, for those of you that don't know what 3D flying is, it's a style of flying, and I will demonstrate it at the end of the video here. 3D flying is a style of flying where it's post-stall, basically where the wings are just there for stability and you're dragging the plane around by the motor. And so he gave me that plane, and it was crashed, and I repaired it, and I crashed it some more, and eventually it got really heavy and really hard to fly, so that one got totaled. Now, I totaled it, I think, beginning mid-August, somewhere around there of this year. And so, there was this earlier in July, at the end of July, there was this fly-in called Watts over Owatonna that me and my dad went to, and I had a blast there. I met a kid there. His name is Alex Shower, and he is a extremely good pilot. He flew a 7-foot, greater than a 7-foot wingspan extra, which is an aerobatic 3D plane, and he is just amazing with it. Anyways, so I saw him fly that, and he had a few planes for sale, and I asked him about them. Those didn't actually sell, so yeah, I didn't have the money for it, and I just kind of moved on. Anyways, fast forward about 3 days after that fly-in, and it's my birthday. So what I got for my birthday from my parents was a little EDF jet, and no, it does not go 100 miles per hour. But and then I also got a Fly Zone Acrowatt. Boy, and I can make that thing look like it goes 100 miles per hour. And so I flew with this little Fly Zone Acrowatt for quite a while. In fact, I never crashed it. That was like the first plane that I've never crashed. The EDF jet didn't teach me much, but it was a fun plane to fly. And it was small enough that you could fly it just about anywhere. But it was grossly underpowered. It couldn't even complete a loop. Anyways, so I flew this Acrowatt here till about end of September, and then I actually got a hold of Alex again and asked him if he had those planes for sale again, and he did. So I went about the end of October here, and I think it was the end of October, maybe it was the end of September. Anyways, I bought the 2 planes from him, and one of them was a 3D hobby shop, actually the same brand as the orange little Edge I got from the guy on RC Groups. 3D hobby shop, 47 extra and 58 Edge. So I've been flying the 47 extra for quite a little bit now. About a month, I think. Month, maybe 2. And it is a great plane. It flies like foam because it's so light, but yet it's incredibly durable. I mean, it takes at least twice the beating that foam will. I mean, it just holds up. And so I'm quite a fan of balsa now. Anyways, so now I'm finishing up I'm finishing up building the 58 Edge, and that should have a maiden later this week, so that'll be fun. And anyway, so that's about it for me. And I also bought a Carbon Cub in there somewhere. I mean, I actually bought it used, so I could afford it, but I bought that, flew it once, and then I was like, meh, this Carbon Cub wasn't for me. Anyways, so, and then I bought a DX8 here a while ago because I wanted to be able to fly 3D, and you need at least a DX8. At very, very minimum, you need a DX6i. And with a DX6i, you're not going to be able to do everything. So I got the DX8, and I love it. I don't even regret what I paid for it. And so, yeah. So, my advice to anybody getting into the hobby, this is how I would do it. I would go out and I'd buy a Hobby Zone Super Cub. Make sure you have lots of room to fly because you're going to need more room than you think you do. I am very lucky in town. We got a lake to fly off, and we also have a 51-acre soccer complex. And there's more when they have the corn down. So give yourself lots of room. And then once you think you're ready to fly on it, don't go get that Warbird. Don't go get that Focke-Wulf or that P-51. The problem with a Focke-Wulf or a P-51 is they have lots and lots of very bad habits. I mean, they torque and they stall bad. My habit would be, or not my habit, my idea for you would be go get a little Fly Zone Acrowatt or a Park Zone Artisan sport plane, and that plane will teach you more about flying than anything else. That's how it did for me. I learned more on my Acrowatt than I did on my training, or on my trainer. But I mean, I flew the heck out of my Acrowatt, and that was just an awesome plane. I mean, I sold it when I started to get bored with it. And so, yeah. But anyways, that's about it. And then after that, if you can either go into scale or 3D are the two main categories. There are some others, F3A, F3P, things like that. But those aren't as big. There's really three main categories, I should say. Sport, scale, and 3D. Now, if I don't have much advice for you if you're going to go to sport, because that's just kind of Acrowatt. The Acrowatt is a sport plane, so just keep going down that road. Maybe buy some balsa ones. But if you're going to go to 3D, you got to have that computer TX. Once you have that computer radio, what I would do is I'd go out and buy a copy of what we're flying now, Realflight. And I'd buy a newer copy, at least version 5, but that's just me. I have 7.5 right now. I bought it when it was at 7. So if I were you, I'd go out and buy Realflight. I mean, you will save thousands of dollars on planes because you won't have to replace planes. I've saved at least $1,000 because I've crashed at least 10 times. I'm flying $150 planes in real life. So if you're going to learn 3D, you're going to need a copy of Realflight. And anyways, yeah, you're going to need Realflight. Once you do that, I recommend the number one brand I recommend. There are two brands I'd recommend you. A Twisted Hobbies. I've heard they're good from RC groups. And I'm just about to pick mine, one of those, a Twisted Hobbies Crack Yak Mini. And then there's 3D Hobby Shop. Extreme Flight is also good, but I haven't had any experience with them. So there are two choices with 3D Hobby Shop. You got EPP, which is for learning 3D. Excuse me. And then you have Balsa. If I were you, what I did is I tried EPP and it wasn't for me. It flew a little heavy, but that's because it was used. But there were some flex in the control surfaces, which is you expect that with foam. Anyway, so the balsa ones, they fly as light or lighter than foam, but they're twice as durable at least. That's why I say balsa, and they don't flex. So the only thing about balsa is they're harder to repair, but if you're patient, it'll be okay. And so that's all the advice I have for you. I promised I'd fly some 3D here at the end, so I'm gonna land this Reaper, and yeah, I guess we'll do some of that. So here we go. Now, oh, and by the way, as you can probably see on the screen, this is 0 throttle. I really like how this Reaper glides. I mean, I'm not a fan of the... Oh, okay, there we go. That's landing. I'm not a fan of the term drones, and I don't know if I'll ever get a military. They just don't appeal to me. Maybe to you they do, but it's not my thing. Anyway, so here is a great plane. I mean, the 51 is good, but I'm looking... The 71 is a plane I'm debating getting in real life. If I ran it, I'd probably run 20-30 cc gas, but maybe electric. The other plane I'm debating getting is the new 75 Extra by 3D Hobby Shop. See, as you can see, that's post-stall. The wings aren't doing anything at all there. Here they are. I mean, a lot of 3D stuff real planes cannot do, but RC planes can just because of power-to-weight ratio. They're coming closer now in full scale, but not quite. Anyways, yeah, as you can see, we're not using the wings here. We're just kind of hovering, and that's actually what it's called if you're not familiar with RC. And then, yep, see, as you can see, this is basically the trademark. This and the Harrier is the trademark of 3D, I'd say. I mean, if you see someone doing this, you can tell they're doing 3D. I mean, you're not using the wings. Same here. And then I'll put it into a knife edge spin. Yeah, that's it. And then I'll pull blender and go to a flat spin. So there's the knife edge spin. As you can see, the wings are spinning around in almost a knife edge shape. Pull to a blender, and it starts the flat spin. And then I pull out it. I just kind of let the throttle. You got to let it stabilize. And yeah. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try a waterfall. I'm not exactly the best at a waterfall. Anyway, so you go straight up, push the full down elevator, and sometimes it works. I mean, I think it works best if you start at low throttle and then push full each. It'll roll it tighter, but I'm not quite sure. Anyways, and then the next one here is called a wall. So you come around, bring the throttle down, pull up, and there. And then a lot of times you'll follow that into a hover. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'll hope to put out some new videos here soon. But this is Something Extra RC. And that's all for now.